Grade 11, Lesson 5, Query a Database Using SQL. Good day everybody, welcome to the fifth lesson of Grade 11 Databases. We will look at how to query a database using SQL. Let's begin. The contents of this video. We will look at the following terms, what a query is, what a condition is, and what SQL is. We will then look at the basic SQL query format, and after that we will look at some examples, specifically setting up something, a query with no conditions, a query with single condition, a query with multiple conditions, and then a sum query. Let's look at the terms. The query. Query is a process, message, or string that is used to request or retrieve data from a database. For example, retrieve a list of products from the database with a price of 14.95 Rand. Or select all from table where condition equals true. This is an example of a SQL statement. The conditions. Conditions is used to test if the record needs to be added to the result of the query. Conditions follow normal logical operations, for example, and, or, not, greater, equal, or less than. SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. SQL is a domain-specific language used to communicate with relational databases. If you are unsure what a relational database is, please see our video on it. SQL also has a strong mathematical background with relational algebra, but it's beyond the scope of high school. Let's look at the basic SQL query format. The select specifies the column that the result needs to contain. The star can be used to specify that all the columns in the table needs to be returned. As can be used to change a specific column name in the result. Aggregate functions are specified in the select section. Aggregate functions include average to calculate the average of a column, count to count the number of rows in the column, sum to add all the contents of the column, and min-max to find the maximum in a column and the minimum in a column. From. This specifies the table or tables that the result will pull data from. As can be used again to change a table name for the query. This is used more when you combine two or more tables in a complex query. Where? This is used to specify the conditions for which the record needs to be returned. For string columns, remember to place double quotation marks around the condition that it needs to be tested with. Order by. This is used to order the result by a given column. Order can be ascending, then we use ASC, or descending, then we use DESC. Now the examples we will look at. We will look at listing all the records in Cape Town shop, list all the records in Durban shop with product name cat snack, list all the records in Mercado shop with a weight of between 20 inclusive and 0 exclusive, and then count all the products currently in the Pretoria shop. And here we have our example. So first, if you remember, the first example was the setup. So to display your SQL output, we're going to be using something called a DB grid. Now you should find it in your normal tool palette. Then the first things that we need to just set up quickly is after you've done the whole setup with the data module, if you're unsure how to do that, please watch our video on that. Then here by your data source, you just select your data source, your T data source from the data module, and just connect your DB grid with your data source so that your output will actually show in the grid. Okay, let's do our first proper example. If you look, list all the records in Cape Town shop. So now first things you need to do is you need to close something. So you say dbm.query.close. So we close the query, and then we say query.sql.text, Now in here, we place our SQL statement, and then we say dem.query.open. So we execute the query. Now in here, we will place our SQL statement. In this case, it will be select all, because we want to display all the records in Cape Town shop from, and then Cape Town shop. So display all from Cape Town shop. Let's see if it works. We run it. Pull that over. It's example 1. Now if you look here, let's just maximize this. Here is our product ID, product name. As we scroll over, we will see product, all the rest of the tables. Price, order date, quantity left, weight. So it automatically fills in and places them in neat columns. Okay, let's look at the second example. The second example says list all the records in Durban shop with product name cat shop. Okay, same as before, we first close our query. Okay, so same structure, we close it, we give our statement, and then we open it. So in here, we say select all from Durban shop, where. So select all. We want all the records from Durban shop, where product where product name is equal to cat snack. Okay, so select all from Durban shop where product name equals cat snack. So here is our condition on the return that we placed. So we will only return records with the name cat snack as product name. Okay, let's run it. Pull it over. Example 2. Here we see product name is cat snack. Product price, so it only returned one row because only one product has the name cat snack. Okay, cool. Now let's tweak this example a little bit to just demonstrate how you would go about selecting only certain tables instead of all. So let's say in here we want to only show product ID, product name, and product price. Let's run it. So now you'll see we only have 3 columns. We have product ID, our product name, and lastly, product price. So there's an example of how you would only return certain columns. Okay, next thing that we went through in the notes, we looked at using the as operator to rename the result. So let's quickly use that. So we'll say as PID. This one will be as PName. And this one will be as PPrice. Let's run it. So if we put it over, example 2, you'll see our PID, PName, and PPrice. Okay, cool. So that's that example. So the next example tells us to list all the records in Mercado Shop with a weight of between 20 and a weight of above 0, where 20 is inclusive and 0 is exclusive. Okay, same as before, we say dm.query.close. So dm.query.sql.text, then dm.query.open. Okay, same structure as normal, so we say select all from Mercado Shop where weight is greater than 0 and weight is less or equal to 20. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, so if we look again at our weight, all only weights that are there are between 20 and 0, where 20 is inclusive and 0 is exclusive. Okay, let's look at the last example. We will be a sum. So we'll say dm.query.close. Okay, same structure as normal. So in here we'll say select count. So we want to count all the products currently in the Pretoria shop. So we'll say in here, we'll say product. Now usually for count you can use any field in the any field in the table, but in this case let's use product name. So we say as count products from Pretoria shop. So select count the product names as product count products. So we rename it from Pretoria shop. Okay, let's save and run it. Example 4, you'll see there are 7 products in Pretoria store. Now as an added activity for you, try and work out more examples, try and get user input and use it in a SQL statement. Just remember that text is string, so thus you can build up a string as you would normally do with any string manipulation.